There was other sort of specific training things I had to do, like learning how to hold my breath for a really long time and learn to hang upside down for quite some time. So I had a sort of serious regime going on that was a combination of, you know, being at the gym. I had this frame set up in the apartment that I was staying in that I was hanging upside down for half an hour a day or something. Really to get used to the idea of that, because it's a lot harder than you think to actually sustain hanging upside down for a while. The breath holding exercises that I was doing, which were a great help. I mean, I was sort of able to hold my breath for about a minute and a half, I think, when I first got there, and then after half an hour or something with this guy, the guy that I trained with, is able to hold he's like the English champion. He can hold his breath for like 7 minutes or something, which is really bizarre. He just gave me one exercise to do, and suddenly I could hold my breath for 2 minutes. So really, it's quite astounding, you know, the stuff that I learnt as far as what we can actually do to ourselves to transform. Houdini had a number of things that were really great showpieces. I mean, you know, funnily enough, I think when he started working as a magician, one of the things that he did in the act was get out of a pair of handcuffs, and the manager who sort of took him on said, listen, forget everything else and let's concentrate on that. And so everything from then on really became a version of escape, and so he really did a lot of work with handcuffs. He had a milk can escape that he did. One of the things that we show in the film that he ended up sort of building himself, which is quite funny really, was this Chinese water torture cell in a giant glass box that was sort of framed in brass, etc. So he did a number of things like that that really had to be more spectacular than the last.
He's a fantastic, solid actor, and he's a thorough, and he does a lot of research, and I know that he did a lot of research, and he's like a chameleon. When you think of the film he came off before he did Defying Acts, he was playing Andy Warhol, and he was this thin, and you know, you see pictures of Houdini, and he's pretty buffed, and Jill told me that he'd been doing a lot of work in the gym to, to build up, and I went, wow, that's a lot of building up to do in such a short period of time. And he did, and he's that kind of actor. He throws himself into a role, and he did a wonderful job. When I was doing my little bit of magic practice, he was, like every morning he'd go to magic practice, and he did a lot, and he was pretty good at it. But I think more than anything was his stunts of hanging upside down, being trapped in the straitjacket, doing all the motions to be able to get out of that, and also the underwater work he had to do. He worked really hard on perfecting that, and he did a fantastic job.
I saw him, he was on this, I don't know what you call it, it was like a wooden plank kind of thing, and his feet were put in the middle of it, and he was just hanging upside down, and he didn't look nervous or anything, and he said his lines and did the scene upside down, and he did it over and over again, and I just thought it was amazing to do that, He's brilliant, he really is.
The real work that Guy did was the internal work, preparing to play the part, which is really nothing like Guy as a person, because Guy is actually very shy and retiring and doesn't want to be noticed, whereas Houdini was always a showman. When he's out and about, he was always on, and he wanted people to look at him, and he wanted them to write about him, and he kept every cutting. So Guy's playing someone that was in some ways the opposite to himself, and I think he does it brilliantly. I knew that Guy would do everything possible to be as fit as he could to be Houdini, but I certainly didn't expect, and I'm thrilled at how devoted he was. I mean, he really, he learned everything he could about Houdini. He paid for his own private lessons with a magician to start learning just small things like card tricks and so on. And then he went alone and worked out at a gym for 5 months to have the sort of physique that Houdini would. And Guy probably didn't tell you this, but in the end, his scenes underwater, he could hold his breath longer than our stunt guy could. Because, you know, I mean, that's how passionate he was. He started reading about how Houdini would you just basically practice in the bath if you want to learn to hold your breath for a long period of time, and he did that. And not only did he do that, he also had a structure made to practice hanging upside down. I mean, I said to him early on, before we started shooting, I said, like, I've talked to the stunt guy, and he said, you know, if you can get used to being upside down, that would be helpful and so on, but obviously we'll have a stunt person and don't overdo it. The next thing I know, he's had a structure built, and he's hanging every night in his flat in London. I'm like, you sure you should do this? And he learnt to get out, he got out of the straitjacket. We didn't trick it. I mean, truly. Guy can now go up the road just about and do half of Houdini's act.